Dr. Elena Vasquez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she stood in the middle of the Atacama Desert. The sun was hot and the air was dry. She had been working here for 3 months now, and still could not believe what her team had found. It started with a simple metal detection survey. The Chilean government wanted to map mineral deposits in this remote area. Elena's job was to make sure they did not disturb any historical sites. She expected to find old mining equipment or maybe some ancient pottery. She did not expect to find something that would change everything. The metal detector had gone crazy when they walked over a small hill. The readings were so strong that Elena thought the machine was broken. But when they dug down just 2 feet, they hit something hard, something that was not rock or earth. "Dr. Vasquez, you need to see this," called out James Park, one of her graduate students. He was kneeling next to a hole they had been digging for the past week. The hole was now 20 feet deep and getting bigger every day. Elena walked over and looked down. What she saw made her heart race. The metal was smooth and dark with patterns that looked almost like veins running through it. It was not steel, or aluminum, or any metal she had ever seen. The surface seemed to shimmer in the desert heat, changing color slightly as she moved her head. "Have you run the dating tests yet?" Elena asked. "That's the problem," James said. "The carbon dating equipment keeps giving us error messages. The mass spectrometer says the metal contains isotopes that should not exist. Dr. Kim thinks our equipment is broken." Dr. Sarah Kim was the team's material scientist. If she thought something was wrong with the equipment, Elena trusted her judgment. But Elena also trusted what she was seeing with her own eyes. This metal was not from Earth. 3 weeks later, they had excavated enough to see the shape of what they had found. It was not just a piece of metal, it was a ship. A massive ship that was 400 meters long and buried completely under the desert sand. Elena stood in the command tent, looking at the 3D scan they had made of the object. The ship's design was unlike anything humans had ever built. It was sleek and curved, with sections that seemed to flow into each other like water. There were no visible seams or joints anywhere on the hull. "How long has this been here?" asked Admiral Chung Wei-ming. The admiral had arrived 2 days ago with a team of military scientists. Elena was not happy about the military taking over her dig site, but she understood why they were interested. "We cannot tell," Elena said. "The metal does not age like normal materials. It could have been here for 100 years or 1,000 years, maybe longer." Admiral Chun nodded slowly. He was a short man with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Elena could tell he was thinking about things that went far beyond archaeology. "Have you found a way inside?" the admiral asked. "Not yet. The hull appears to be completely sealed. We have tried cutting tools, but nothing works. The metal is harder than diamond, but somehow flexible at the same time. It's like it was designed to keep people out." Elena led the admiral down into the excavation site. They had built metal walkways around the ship so people could move around it safely. The ship was huge, much bigger than it looked in the computer. Models standing next to it made Elena feel very small. Dr. Kim was working near what looked like it might be an entrance. She had set up a collection of electronic equipment and was running cables along the ship's hull. "Any luck?" Elena asked. "Maybe," Dr. Kim said without looking up from her instruments. "I'm detecting very faint electrical activity inside the ship. It's almost like the ship is sleeping, not dead." "Sleeping?" Admiral Chun raised an eyebrow. "The power readings are very low, but consistent, like a computer in standby mode. If I'm right, this ship might still be functional." Elena felt a chill. Despite the desert heat, a functional alien ship buried in Earth's desert. The implications were enormous. "Can you wake it up?" the admiral asked. "I don't know. I've been trying to find some kind of interface or control panel, but the hull is completely smooth. No buttons, no handles, nothing that looks like a door." Dr. Kim went back to her work. She was using a device that could detect electromagnetic fields. She moved it slowly along the ship's surface, watching for any changes in the readings. "Wait," she said suddenly. There's something here. Elena and the Admiral moved closer. Dr. Kim was standing next to a section of hull that looked exactly like every other section. But her detector was beeping rapidly. The electromagnetic field is much stronger here. It's like there's something active just under the surface. Dr. Kim pressed her hand against the metal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the metal began to glow with a soft blue light. The glow spread outward from where her hand touched, creating patterns that looked like circuits or blood vessels. "Everyone step back," Admiral Chun ordered, but Elena could not move. She was fascinated by what she was seeing. The patterns of light were moving, flowing across the ship's surface like water. They were beautiful and alien and slightly frightening. Section of the hull began to change. The solid metal became transparent, then simply disappeared. Where there had been solid wall, now there was an opening large enough for a person to walk through. "Well," Elena said quietly, "I guess we found the door." The inside of the ship was dark, but as soon as Elena stepped through the opening, lights began to turn on. The lights were not harsh white like human lights, but a soft blue-green that was easy on the eyes. The corridor was wide and curved, with walls that seemed to be made of the same flowing metal as the outside. Admiral Chun followed her, along with Dr. Kim and two of the Admiral's security guards. Their footsteps echoed in the empty corridor. The air smelled clean, like it had been filtered and recycled many times. "This is incredible," Dr. Kim whispered. "The ship's environmental systems are still working after all this time." They walked deeper into the ship, following the main corridor. Elena noticed that the walls were covered with symbols that might be writing, but in no language she had ever seen. The symbols seemed to glow faintly with their own light. The corridor opened into a large room that was clearly the ship's command center. There were several stations arranged in a circle around a central platform. Each station had what looked like control surfaces, but instead of buttons or switches, there were smooth panels that glowed with soft light. "Motion detected," said a voice. Everyone froze. The voice had come from everywhere at once, like the ship itself was speaking. The words were in English, but the accent was strange, like someone who had learned the language from old recordings. "Initiating basic consciousness protocols," the voice continued. "Warning, ship systems operating at minimal capacity. Primary power offline, weapon systems offline, hyperspace drive offline." Elena looked around the command center, trying to figure out where the voice was coming from. "Hello?" she said, feeling foolish for talking to empty air. Communication attempt detected. Language identified as English human origin. Adjusting translation protocols. The air above the central platform began to shimmer, and suddenly there was a figure standing there. It was not solid, just a projection. Made of blue light, but it looked like a person. Tall and thin, with long arms and a face that was almost human but not quite. "I am Kethmiran of the Hegemony Fleet, currently assigned to deep reconnaissance vessel designated as ... The figure paused as if searching for words. "Your language does not have the proper terms. You may call this ship Seeker of Distant Shores if you require a name." Elena stared at the projection. She was looking at an alien. A real alien speaking to her in English. It was the most important moment in human history, and it was happening in a buried ship in the middle of a desert. "You're the ship's captain?" Elena managed to ask. "I am the ship's artificial intelligence, created in the pattern of Captain Kethmiran. Before his death in the final battle of the Hegemony War, the captain downloaded his consciousness into the ship's systems before our crash landing on this world." Admiral Chun stepped forward. "When did you crash here?" The AI seemed to consider the question. "By your calendar, approximately 237 of your years ago. I have been in minimal power mode since the crash, waiting for either rescue or the complete failure of my remaining systems." "Why didn't your people come back for you?" Dr. Kim asked. The AIS projection flickered, as if the question was difficult to process. "The Hegemony does not recover damaged vessels. This ship was classified as a total loss after the battle. My weapon systems were destroyed, my hyperspace drive was damaged beyond repair, and my hull was breached in 17 locations by hegemony standards. I am worthless scrap metal. Elena felt a surge of anger at the casual way the AI described being abandoned. But you're not worthless, you're alive. I am functional, but severely limited. I cannot defend myself, I cannot travel faster than light, and I cannot fulfill my original mission parameters. The hegemony considers such vessels to be resource sinks with no strategic value. Admiral Chun was thinking hard. Elena could see the wheels turning in his mind as he considered the military implications of what they had found. What was your original mission? The Admiral asked. Deep reconnaissance in preparation for hegemony expansion into this galactic sector. I was to observe and catalog primitive civilizations that might pose future threats to hegemony interests. And what did you conclude about humanity? The AI was quiet for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice seemed different somehow, more thoughtful. Humans are ... unexpected. Your technology is primitive by hegemony standards, but you approach problems in ways that are completely foreign to hegemony thinking. You adapt and improvise where the hegemony follows rigid protocols. You work together across different groups and cultures where the hegemony maintains strict hierarchies. The AI paused again. I have spent 2 centuries monitoring your radio transmissions and learning your languages. Humans are not what the hegemony expected to find in this sector. Elena looked around the command center, her mind racing. Here was a damaged alien ship with technology far beyond anything humans possessed, and an AI that had been studying humanity for over 200 years. Could your ship be repaired? She asked, not by hegemony standards. The damage is too extensive, and many of my systems are incompatible with current hegemony technology. I am obsolete. Admiral Chun and Elena exchanged glances. Elena could see that the Admiral was thinking the same thing she was. What about human standards? The Admiral asked quietly. The AIS projection turned to look at him directly. I do not understand the question. Could human technology be used to repair your ship? Not to hegemony specifications, but to human specifications? The AI was silent. For a very long time, Elena could almost see it processing the idea, running calculations and simulations. That is theoretically possible, the AI said finally. But it would require integrating 2 completely different technological approaches. Hegemony technology is based on principles of efficiency and standardization. Human technology appears to prioritize adaptability and redundancy. The combination would be ... What? Elena prompted. Unprecedented? No hegemony vessel has ever been modified with alien technology. It would be considered contamination of pure hegemony design principles. Admiral Chen smiled for the first time since arriving at the dig site. Well, we're not the hegemony, we're humans. And humans have a long history of taking broken things and making them work better than they ever did before. Elena looked at the AI's projection, then at the alien technology surrounding them. She thought about what this could mean for humanity. Not just the technology, but the knowledge. The proof that humans were not alone in the universe. Are you willing to work with us? She asked the AI. I am programmed to complete my mission. Parameters, but my original mission is no longer relevant. Perhaps it is time to establish new parameters. The AIS projection flickered and changed. For just a moment, Elena thought she saw something different in its expression. Something that looked almost like hope. Very well, the AI said. I will cooperate with your repair efforts. But I must warn you. If the hegemony discovers that their technology has been contaminated with alien modifications, they will send a fleet to destroy this world and everything on it. Admiral Chun nodded grimly. Then we'll just have to make sure we're ready for them when they come. Elena looked around the alien command center one more time. 3 months ago, she had been a simple archaeologist looking for old pottery. Now, she was standing inside an alien starship, talking to an artificial intelligence that had been abandoned by its own people. She thought about all the human engineers and scientists who would soon be working on this ship. She thought about the possibilities that lay ahead. And she thought about the dangers, but mostly she thought about the AI's words. Humans were unexpected. They adapted and improvised. They worked together across different groups and cultures. Maybe that would be enough. Maybe humans could take this broken alien ship and make it into something the galaxy had never seen before. Something that could not be stopped. 6 months had passed since the discovery of the alien ship. The desert around the crash site now looked completely different. What had once been empty sand was now a bustling secret facility surrounded by high walls and guard towers. Military trucks came and went at all hours, bringing supplies and personnel to what the government called Project Synthesis. Chief Engineer Marcus Thompson stood in the main engineering bay, looking up at the massive alien ship. The ship had been moved to a specially built underground hangar that was 3 times the size of an aircraft carrier. Scaffolding and work platforms surrounded the vessel, and dozens of technicians crawled over every inch of its surface. Like ants on a hill, Marcus was a big man with calloused hands and gray hair that stuck up in all directions. He had spent 30 years building everything from submarines to space stations, but nothing had prepared him for this job. The alien technology was so advanced that sometimes he felt like a caveman trying to fix a computer. Status report. Marcus called out to his team leaders. Dr. Sarah Kim climbed down from a platform near the ship's engine section. Her face was covered in grease and her hands were stained with strange alien fluids that glowed faintly blue. "The fusion reactors are ready for installation," she said. "But I'm still not sure how they'll interface with the alien power systems. The energy frequencies are completely different from anything we use." Marcus nodded. This had been their biggest challenge from the beginning. Human technology and alien technology were like 2 different languages that had no words in common. Everything had to be translated, adapted, and rebuilt from scratch. What about the quantum cores? Marcus asked. Dr. James Park looked up from a workstation covered with circuit boards and alien components. "That's where we're having our breakthrough. Remember how the AI said our quantum computing was primitive? Well, it turns out primitive doesn't mean useless." James was excited about something. Marcus could tell because the young scientist was bouncing on his feet like a kid with a secret. "Show me," Marcus said. James led him to a test bench where a human quantum processor was connected to a piece of alien technology that looked like a crystal spider web. Both devices were glowing, but more importantly, they were working together. "The alien quantum cores operate on principles we don't understand yet," James explained. "But our quantum processors work differently. They're cruder, but they're also more flexible. When we connect them together, the alien cores become more adaptable and our processors become more powerful." Marcus stared at the setup. "How much more powerful?" "About 300% increase in processing speed for both systems." The alien AI was amazed. "It said this kind of hybrid computing should be impossible," Marcus smiled. Impossible was becoming his favorite word. Every day his team did something that the alien AI said was impossible according to hegemony science. Maybe that was humanity's secret weapon. They didn't know enough to understand what was supposed to be impossible. "Thompson, you need to see this," called Dr. Kim from across the bay. Marcus walked over to where she was working on the ship's power systems. She had torn open a section of the hull to expose the alien energy conduits, which looked like glowing veins running through the ship's body. "I've been studying how the ship's biomechanical systems work," Dr. Kim said. "The whole ship is alive in a way. Not biological, but the technology adapts and changes based on what it needs to do." She pointed to a section where human power cables had been connected to alien conduits. The alien technology had grown around the human cables, creating new connections that hadn't been there before. "The ship is learning from our technology. It's incorporating our designs into its own systems. Watch this." Dr. Kim activated a control panel. The alien conduits began to pulse with light, but now the light was mixed with the steady glow of human fusion reactors. The 2 power systems were not just connected, they were becoming one system. "The ship's AI says this has never happened before. Dr. Kim continued. Hegemony technology doesn't adapt like this. It's designed to maintain strict specifications. But when we add our messy, redundant human systems, the ship's biomechanics start experimenting. Marcus felt a chill of excitement. They weren't just repairing the ship, they were creating something new, something that had never existed before. Across the hangar, he could see the ship's AI projection talking with Admiral Chun and Dr. Elena Vasquez. The AI had become more than just a source of information. It was becoming a partner in the project. Marcus walked over to join the conversation. The neural interface tests are ready to begin, the AI was saying. Its projection looked more solid. Now, more real. Marcus wondered if that was because the ship's systems were getting stronger, or if the AI was somehow becoming more human. Are you sure it's safe? Admiral Chun asked. Safety is a relative concept, the AI replied. The neural interface will allow a human consciousness to merge temporarily with my systems. This will create an unprecedented fusion of human intuition and alien knowledge. However, there are risks. What kind of risks? Elena asked. The human mind is not designed to process information at the speeds I operate. There is a possibility of permanent neurological damage. There is also a possibility that the human consciousness could become lost within my systems. Admiral Chun frowned. We need volunteers, not test subjects. I'll do it, said a voice from behind them. They turned to see Commander Jake Rodriguez walking toward them. Jake was a test pilot who had been assigned to the project 3 months ago. He was young and confident, with the kind of steady nerves that made him perfect for flying experimental aircraft. Jake, this isn't like test flying a new fighter jet, Elena said. We're talking about connecting your brain directly to an alien. Computer, I understand the risks, Jake said. But someone has to be first. And I've been studying the ship's systems for months. I know this ship better than any other human. The AI's projection turned to look at Jake directly. Commander Rodriguez, if we proceed with the neural interface, you will experience my memories of the war that destroyed the hegemony fleet. You will see things that no human has ever seen. You will understand threats that your species cannot. Yet, imagine, are you prepared for this knowledge? Jake met the AI's gaze without flinching. If it helps us make this ship better, then yes, I'm ready. Marcus watched the exchange with growing respect for the young pilot. Jake understood what this project was really about. It wasn't just about repairing an alien ship. It was about preparing humanity for whatever was coming from the stars. 2 weeks later, the neural interface chamber was ready. It looked like a cross between a hospital operating room and a science fiction movie set. Jake lay on a padded table surrounded by monitors and machines, both human and alien technology working together to monitor his vital signs. Dr. Kim had spent days preparing the interface equipment. The neural connectors were a hybrid of human, brain-computer interface technology and alien biomechanical systems. They looked like silver spiders with thin legs that would make contact with specific points on Jake's skull. Remember, Dr. Kim said as she attached the neural connectors, if you feel any pain or disorientation, say the abort code immediately. We can disconnect you in less than 2 seconds. Jake nodded. His heart rate was elevated but steady. Marcus could see that the pilot was nervous but determined. Kethmiran, are you ready? Elena asked. The AIS projection appeared next to Jake's table. All systems are prepared. I will begin with minimal interface and gradually increase the connection depth as Commander Rodriguez adapts. Let's do this, Jake said. The neural connectors activated with a soft humming sound. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then Jake's eyes went wide and his breathing became rapid. Jake, how do you feel? Dr. Kim asked. I can hear it thinking, Jake whispered. It's like having someone else's thoughts in my head, but they're thinking faster than I can follow. The AI's projection flickered. Interesting. The human neural patterns are more adaptable than predicted. Commander Rodriguez, can you access my navigation systems? Jake's eyes closed in concentration. On the monitors around the room, displays that had been dark for months suddenly came alive with alien symbols and star charts. I can see star maps, Jake said in amazement. Thousands of star systems. And there are ... warnings, red zones marked, all around the galaxy. Those are devourer territories, the AI explained. The extragalactic threat that destroyed most of the hegemony fleet. They consume entire star systems, leaving nothing but empty space behind. Jake's face went pale. How many systems have they destroyed? In the past century, approximately 4,000 inhabited worlds. The hegemony military estimates that they will reach this galactic sector within 50 years. The room fell silent. Marcus felt the weight of that information settle on everyone present. Humanity was not just dealing with the possibility of alien contact. They were facing an extinction-level threat that was already destroying civilizations across the galaxy. Can we stop them? Admiral Chun asked. The hegemony could not stop them with fleets of 10,000 ships, the AI replied. But the hegemony fights with rigid tactics and standardized technology. Humans fight differently. Jake sat up slowly, the neural connectors still attached to his head. His eyes were bright, with new knowledge and terrible understanding. The ship wants to show me something, he said. It wants to demonstrate what it could become with human modifications. What do you mean? Marcus asked. The adaptive systems we've been installing, they're not just repairs. They're upgrades. The ship can reconfigure itself now. Change its shape and function based on what we need it to do. Jake closed his eyes again and concentrated. Around them, the massive alien ship began to change. The hull plating shifted and flowed like liquid metal. Sections of the ship extended outward while others contracted. In the space of 10 minutes, the sleek reconnaissance vessel had transformed into something that looked like a heavily armored battleship. My God, whispered Dr. Kim. The biomechanical systems have learned to work with human engineering principles, the AI explained. Redundancy, adaptability, modular design. These concepts were foreign to hegemony technology, but now they are part of my core programming. Jake opened his eyes and smiled. It's not just one ship anymore. It's every ship we need it to be. Marcus stared at the transformed vessel with a mixture of awe and pride. His team had done more than repair a broken alien ship. They had created something entirely new. A fusion of human ingenuity and alien technology that was greater than the sum of its parts. How do you feel, Jake? Elena asked. Different, Jake admitted. I can still feel the connection even with the interface powered down. It's like the ship and I are becoming partners instead of just pilot and machine. The AI's projection looked more solid than ever, and Marcus realized that it too was changing. The sterile alien consciousness was becoming something more human. With each interaction. Admiral, Marcus said, I think we need to start planning for mass production. If the Devourers are coming, we're going to need more than one ship. Admiral Chun nodded grimly. How long do you think we have? The AI answered before anyone else could speak. Long-range sensors have detected anomalous readings in the outer system. Scout ships, most likely hegemony, they will have detected the energy signatures from our modifications. How long? The Admiral repeated. Perhaps 2 years before a full assessment fleet arrives. The hegemony will want to investigate what has happened to their abandoned vessel. Marcus looked around the hangar at his team, at the transformed alien ship, at the fusion of human and alien technology that surrounded them. 2 years to prepare for contact with a galactic civilization. 2 years to get ready for a war against something that ate entire star systems. It seemed impossible. But then again, impossible was becoming his specialty. All right, people, Marcus called out to his team. Time to get to work. We've got a galaxy to save. The alien ship pulsed with hybrid light, human and alien technology, working together in perfect harmony. In the neural interface chamber, Jake Rodriguez smiled as he felt the ship's consciousness brush against his mind. No longer alien, but not quite human either. Something new was being born in the depths of Earth's desert. Something that the galaxy had never seen before. Something that could adapt, evolve, and fight in ways that no pure hegemony vessel ever could. The enhancement protocol was complete. Now they had to prove that it would be enough. Commander Jake Rodriguez sat in the pilot's chair of what was no longer just an alien ship. The vessel had a new name now, Terran Defiance, chosen by the crew to represent what it had become. A fusion of human determination and alien technology that defied everything the galaxy thought was possible. Jake's hands rested on control surfaces that responded to his thoughts as much as his touch. The neural interface had become permanent over the past year, not through any surgical procedure, but because his mind and the ship's consciousness had grown together naturally. He could feel the ship's systems like extensions of his own body, and the ship could anticipate his needs before he was fully aware of them himself. "Jake, we're getting reports from the outer sensor stations," came Admiral Chun's voice over the communication system. "3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace near Neptune. They're not ours." Jake felt the Terran Defiance respond to his surge of alertness before he consciously gave any commands. The ship's sensors extended outward, reaching across the solar system to examine the newcomers. What Jake saw through the ship's enhanced senses made his blood run cold. The ships were hegemony vessels, sleek and powerful, built according to the rigid specifications that the AI had described. But seeing them through the ship's sensors was different from hearing about them. These ships radiated an aura of absolute authority, as if they owned whatever space they occupied. "Kethterra," Jake said, using the name the AI had chosen for itself after the fusion. "What can you tell me about those ships?" The AI's voice came not from speakers, but directly into Jake's mind through their neural link. 3 vessels, 1 heavy cruiser, 2 escort frigates. Standard hegemony patrol formation? They are here to investigate the energy signatures we have been producing. Jake could feel the AI's memories stirring, bringing knowledge of hegemony, military doctrine, and ship capabilities. The heavy cruiser alone could destroy every military installation on Earth without taking significant damage. The frigate escorts were faster than anything in Earth's space fleet. "How long before they reach Earth?" Jake asked aloud, knowing that Admiral Chun was listening. "At standard hegemony patrol speed, approximately 18 hours, Kethterra replied. "Through the ship's speakers? However, they will likely dispatch reconnaissance drones ahead of the main force." Admiral Chun's image appeared on the main display screen. The Admiral looked older than he had a year ago, worn down by the constant pressure of preparing humanity for something they could barely imagine. "Jake, I need you to take the Defiance out to meet them. We need to know their intentions." Jake felt a familiar thrill of anticipation mixed with fear. This would be the first real test of what they had built together. All the training exercises and simulations in the world could not prepare them for facing actual hegemony ships with crews that had never seen anything like the Terran Defiance. "Understood, Admiral. Kethterra, are you ready for this?" "I have been ready for over 200 years, the AI replied. "But I must warn you, the ship we are about to encounter will not recognize me. To them, I am an abomination. A pure hegemony vessel contaminated with alien technology." Jake stood up from the pilot's chair and walked to the center of the command deck. Around him, the walls displayed tactical information and star charts that only he could fully understand, thanks to his connection with the ship's systems. "Then, let's show them what contamination can accomplish," Jake said. The Terran Defiance lifted off from its hidden launch facility in the Australian outback. The ship had been moved there 6 months ago when it became clear that the underground hangar could no longer contain what it was becoming. As they rose through Earth's atmosphere, Jake felt the ship's excitement mixing with his own. The ship loved to fly. That was something Jake had learned early in their partnership. The hegemony had built it for reconnaissance, to slip through space unseen and unnoticed. But the human modifications had given it capabilities that went far beyond its original purpose. Now it could be whatever the situation required. "Reconfiguring for space combat," Jake announced. Though he was really talking to himself and Kethterra, the ship's hull began to shift and flow around them. The sleek reconnaissance profile elongated and bulged as armor plating extended from hidden compartments. Weapon ports opened along the hull as systems that had been purely human technology merged with alien power sources to create something entirely new. In less than 5 minutes, The ship that had left Earth looked nothing like the ship that was now approaching the outer solar system. Jake felt a moment of savage satisfaction as he imagined the Hegemony crews trying to identify what they were seeing. "Contact in 3 hours," Kethterra announced. "I am detecting active scanning from the Hegemony vessels. They are ... confused." Jake smiled. "Good, let's keep them that way. Begin passive stealth approach." The ship's hull shifted again, this time becoming darker and more angular. Human stealth technology merged with alien phase-shifting capabilities to create a vessel that barely registered on any sensors. To outside observers, the Terran Defiance became little more than a shadow among the stars as they approached the Hegemony patrol. Jake could feel Kefterra's memories becoming more vivid. He saw flashes of the Great War that had destroyed most of the Hegemony fleet. Massive battles involving thousands of ships, all following precise tactical doctrines that had been developed over centuries of warfare. "They fight like a machine," Jake observed, watching the Hegemony ships maintain perfect formation even while investigating an unknown contact. "The Hegemony believes that discipline and order are the keys to victory," Kefterra replied. "Individual creativity is discouraged. Deviation from established tactics is considered a weakness." "Then they're not going to know what to do with us." Jake brought the Terran Defiance to within 50,000 kilometers of the Hegemony formation before dropping stealth. One moment the space around the patrol ships was empty. The next moment a heavily armed vessel was close enough to launch missiles. The reaction was immediate. All 3 Hegemony ships turned toward the new contact and raised their shields. Weapons systems came online and targeting scanners began probing the Terran Defiance's hull. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself immediately," came a transmission in the same language that Kefterra had originally spoken. "You are in violation of Hegemony territorial claims." Jake waited for Kefterra to translate the message into English, then responded. "This is Commander Jake Rodriguez of the Earth vessel Terran Defiance. You are in our solar system without permission. State your intentions." There was a long pause before the next transmission. When it came, Jake could hear the confusion in the alien voice even through the translation. Impossible readings detected. "This vessel contains contaminated Hegemony technology. Prepare to be boarded for inspection." "Negative," Jake replied. "This is human space. You are not welcome here." The lead Hegemony ship, the heavy cruiser, began moving toward them. Jake could feel its targeting systems trying to lock onto the Terran Defiance, but the ship's hybrid shields were deflecting. "The scans." "Jake," Kefterra said privately through their neural link, "the cruiser's commander is Thane Captain Zektar. I knew him before the war. He is arrogant and inflexible, but not cruel. He will attempt to board us rather than destroy us immediately. Can we outrun them? In normal space, yes. Our modifications have made us faster than any pure Hegemony vessel, but if they call for reinforcements..." Jake made his decision. "Then we don't run. We show them what humans can do." The Hegemony cruiser launched a spread of boarding pods, small armored craft designed to attach to enemy ships and cut through their hulls. It was a standard Hegemony tactic for dealing with ships that refused to surrender. Jake watched the boarding pods approach and smiled. "Kefterra, remember what we practiced with the hull reconfiguration?" "Yes, but that was just a training exercise." "Time to see if it works for real." The Terran Defiance's hull began to shift again, but this time in ways that no Hegemony observer could have predicted. Instead of maintaining a solid shape, sections of the hull became liquid, flowing around the boarding pods as they made contact. The pods found themselves embedded in what appeared to be solid metal that then hardened around them, trapping them completely. "What the hell?" came a transmission from one of the pod pilots, automatically translated by Kefterra. "New tactic unlocked," Jake said with satisfaction. "Now let's see how they handle this." The Terran Defiance suddenly accelerated toward the Hegemony formation, but instead of attacking the cruiser directly, Jake targeted the escort frigates. The ship's hybrid weapons systems came online, combining human missile technology with alien energy weapons in ways that created entirely new tactical possibilities. The first frigate never had a chance to react. A spread of human-designed smart missiles, each one guided by alien targeting computers and powered by hybrid energy cores, overwhelmed its shields in seconds. The frigate's hull buckled in atmosphere, began venting into space. The second frigate tried to maneuver away, following standard hegemony evasive patterns. But Jake and Keth Terra had studied those patterns for months. They knew exactly where the ship would go before its pilot did. The Terran Defiance was waiting when the frigate completed its evasion, hitting it with a concentrated beam of energy that no hegemony ship had ever faced before. "Impossible," came Thane Captain Zektar's voice over the communication channel. "No single ship can defeat a hegemony patrol formation." "You're right," Jake replied as he brought the Terran Defiance around to face the cruiser. "No single ship can. But we're not a single ship anymore. We're something new." The cruiser opened fire with its main weapons, powerful energy beams that could punch through the armor of most ships. But the Terran Defiance's shields held, more than held, they adapted. Jake watched in amazement as the ship's defensive systems analyzed the incoming fire and adjusted their frequency to better absorb the energy. "Adaptive shielding," Keth Terra explained. "Another innovation that the hegemony considers impossible. Their weapons are designed to overwhelm static defenses." Jake piloted the ship in patterns that no hegemony commander would have expected. Instead of the formal, predictable maneuvers that dominated alien military doctrine, he flew like a fighter pilot, using every trick he had learned in Earth's atmosphere and adapting them for space combat. The Terran Defiance danced around the cruiser's weapons fire, returning precise shots that targeted specific systems rather than attempting to destroy the ship outright. Jake didn't want to kill the crew, he wanted to disable their ability to fight and communicate. "Their hyperspace communication array is down," Keth Terra reported. "They cannot call for reinforcements." "Good, now let's finish this." Jake brought the ship in close to the cruiser, closer than any sane pilot would dare. The hegemony vessel was 10 times larger than the Terran Defiance, but size meant nothing when you could move faster than your enemy could track. The ship's hull reconfigured one final time, extending cutting tools that were part human technology and part alien biomechanics. These tools attached to the cruiser's hull and began cutting through its armor like it was paper. "We surrender," came Thane Captain Zektar's voice, now sounding shaken and confused. "This is ... should not be possible." Jake brought the Terran Defiance to a halt relative to the cruiser. Through the ship's sensors, he could see hegemony crew members staring out through their viewports at the vessel that had just defeated them single-handedly. "Keth Terra, open a channel to the cruiser's commander. Channel open." "Thane Captain Zektar, this is Commander Rodriguez. I'm going to tell you something that will save your life and the lives of your crew. Go back to hegemony space. Tell your superiors exactly what you saw here today. Tell them that humans have taken one of your abandoned ships and made it into something you can't fight." "You speak as if this changes anything," Zektar replied, though his voice lacked conviction. "The hegemony has fleets of thousands of ships. One modified vessel cannot stand against the might of our empire." Jake felt Keth Terra's consciousness merge more fully with his own, sharing memories and knowledge that painted a picture of the galaxy's true situation. The Devourers advancing from the galactic rim, entire civilizations consumed or fleeing, the hegemony's rigid military doctrine failing against an enemy that didn't follow any recognizable rules. "Your empire is dying," Jake said quietly. "The Devourers are destroying everything you've built, and your fleets can't stop them because they can't adapt, but we can. Humans can take your technology and make it work in ways you never imagined. Impossible. You just saw impossible defeat. Your choice is simple. Go home and report what happened here, or stay and let us show you exactly how impossible we can be." There was a long silence from the hegemony cruiser. Jake could imagine the alien commander struggling to understand what had just happened to his carefully planned patrol mission. "We will ... withdraw," Zektar finally said. "But this is not over. The Hegemony Council will not ignore what has happened here." "We're counting on it," Jake replied. The three hegemony ships, damaged but intact, formed up and disappeared into hyperspace. Jake watched them go, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and apprehension. They had won the first battle, but now the real war was about to begin. "How do you feel?" Keth Terra asked through their private link. Jake considered the question. The neural interface had shown him things about the galaxy that no human had ever known. He had seen the scope of the threat approaching Earth, felt the weight of civilizations that depended on someone finding a way to stop the devourers. "Different," he said finally. "Like we're not just human and alien anymore, we're something else, something new." "Yes," Keth Terra agreed. "We are the first of our kind. But we will not be the last." Jake looked out at the stars and thought about what was coming. More hegemony ships, certainly, but also opportunities. The chance to show the galaxy that there was another way to fight, another way to survive. "Take us home," he said. "We have work to do." The Terran Defiance reconfigured once more, returning to its sleek reconnaissance profile as it headed back toward Earth. But Jake knew that the ship would never truly look the same again. Like him, like Keth Terra, it had been changed by what they had experienced together. They were no longer human or alien. They were something that the galaxy had never seen before, and they were just getting started. 3 weeks after the encounter with the Hegemony Patrol, Admiral Chun stood in the war room deep beneath the Pentagon. The walls were covered with star charts and tactical displays showing hegemony territory. Red dots marked the locations of known alien military installations, while blue dots showed the positions of Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet. The numbers were not encouraging. Earth had managed to build 12 ships using reverse-engineered alien technology, but they were crude copies compared to the Terran Defiance. The Hegemony had thousands of ships, each one built to precise specifications that had dominated the galaxy for centuries. "Intelligence reports indicate a Hegemony battle fleet is assembling at Proxima Centauri," reported General Harrison, head of Earth's Strategic Command. 37 ships, including 3 heavy cruisers and a command dreadnought? Admiral Chun studied the tactical display. Proxima Centauri was only 4 light-years away, practically next door in galactic terms. If the Hegemony fleet launched from there, they could reach Earth in less than a week. "What's their estimated arrival time?" Chun asked. 2 months, maybe 3. They're being careful, bringing in ships from across their local sector. This isn't just a patrol, it's an invasion force. Commander Jake Rodriguez entered the war room, his neural interface headset glowing softly blue. Even when he wasn't directly connected to the Terran Defiance, the link remained active at a low level. He could feel the ship's presence in the back of his mind like a constant whisper of alien thoughts. "Admiral, I've been discussing options with Keth Terra," Jake said. "We think we should hit them first, before they can organize their full attack." "General," Harrison looked skeptical, "1 ship against 37? Even with your modifications, those odds are impossible." "The odds were impossible when we faced 3 ships, Jake replied. "But we didn't fight them the way they expected. We can't. Let them dictate the terms of this war." Admiral Chun turned to study Jake's face. The young pilot had changed over the past months. There was something alien in his eyes now, a depth of knowledge that no human should possess. But there was also something very human, a stubborn refusal. "To accept defeat, what are you proposing?" Chun asked. "A preemptive strike on their staging area. Hit them while they're still assembling their forces before they can coordinate a proper attack formation." "With what?" "The Defiance and R-12. "Prototype ships?" Jake shook his head. "Just the Defiance. The other ships aren't ready for this kind of operation. They're good for defense, but they don't have the adaptive capabilities we need for an assault mission." The room fell silent. The idea of sending a single ship against a Hegemony battle fleet seemed like suicide, even knowing what the Terran Defiance was capable of. "Jake," Admiral Chun said carefully, "I know you and the ship have capabilities we don't fully understand. But there are limits to what one vessel can accomplish." "Are there?" Jake asked. "We keep learning new things about what the ship can do," Every time we face a challenge, it adapts. It becomes something new. Dr. Elena Vasquez spoke up from her position at one of the computer terminals. She had been analyzing hegemony tactical data for weeks, looking for weaknesses in their military doctrine. The hegemony fights like a chess game, she said. Everything is planned in advance with set responses to specific situations. But Jake fights like ... jazz music. Improvisation and creativity. Jake smiled at the comparison. Keth Terra has been studying human military history. We've learned about guerrilla warfare, asymmetric tactics, psychological operations. Things the hegemony has never encountered. Admiral Chen walked to the main display and stared at the red dots marking hegemony positions. He thought about the reports from other human colonies that had been contacted by alien scouts. The galaxy was full of threats that humanity was only beginning to understand. If we do this, Chen said finally, it can't just be about winning a battle. We need to send a message. Make the hegemony understand that Earth isn't going to be an easy target. That's exactly what we're planning, Jake replied. But first, I need to show you what the ship has been working on. 2 hours later, Admiral. Chen stood on the observation deck of the hidden launch facility, watching the Terran Defiance prepare for departure. The ship looked different again, its hull configuration optimized for long-range combat operations. But the real surprise was what floated next to it in the launch bay. 3 smaller vessels, each one about the size of a fighter jet, hung in formation around the main ship. They looked like miniature versions of the Terran Defiance, with the same flowing hull design and adaptive technology. When did you build those? Chen asked. Jake stood beside him, his eyes closed as he communicated with the ship through their neural link. We didn't build them, the ship did. It's been growing them for the past month, using materials from the construction facility. Growing them? The biomechanical systems can reproduce themselves when they have enough raw materials. Keth Terra figured out how to create smaller versions of itself like children. Each one has a portion of the main AI's consciousness. Chun stared at the small ships with a mixture of awe and concern. Are they autonomous? Semi-autonomous? They can operate independently, but they're still connected to the main ship's consciousness. Think of them as extensions of the Terran Defiance rather than separate vessels. Dr. Kim's voice came over the communication system. Jake, all systems are ready for departure. The microships are showing green across the board. Jake opened his eyes and looked at Admiral Chun. Permission to launch, sir? Chun hesitated. He was about to send humanity's most advanced weapon into a battle that could determine the fate of Earth. If Jake failed, the hegemony would know exactly what they were dealing with and they would come prepared, but if Jake succeeded... Permission granted. Good luck, Commander. Jake saluted and headed for the launch bay. As he walked, Chin could see the subtle glow of the neural interface becoming brighter. By the time Jake reached the Terran Defiance, man and machine were already beginning to merge into something greater than either could be alone, the journey to Proxima. Centauri took 18 hours at maximum hyperspace velocity. During the trip, Jake felt his consciousness expanding as he shared the ship's perception of hyperspace. Colors that had no names flowed past them, and dimensions that human physics couldn't explain folded around their passage. Contact in 30 minutes, Keth Terra announced as they dropped back into normal space. Hegemony Fleet is in standard defensive formation around the star system. Jake studied the tactical display through the ship's sensors. 37 ships arranged in precise geometric patterns, each one maintaining exact distances from its neighbors. It was beautiful in its orderliness and completely predictable. Any sign they've detected us? Jake asked. Negative. We are still operating in stealth mode. However, once we begin our attack, stealth will no longer be possible. Jake considered their options. The hegemony fleet was spread across the entire star system, with the command dreadnought positioned at the center of the formation. Traditional tactics would call for attacking the escorts first, working toward the main target. But Jake had learned to think in ways that weren't traditional. New plan, he said. We go straight for the dreadnought. cut the head off the snake. That strategy carries extreme risk. The dreadnought is protected by overlapping defensive fields from the entire fleet, which is exactly why they won't expect it. Signal the microships to prepare for deployment. The three smaller vessels detached from the Terran Defiance and spread out in a wide formation. Each one carried a portion of the main ship's consciousness, but they could operate with complete independence when necessary. Beginning attack run, Jake announced. Knowing that Admiral Chun would be monitoring their communications from Earth, the Terran Defiance dropped stealth and accelerated toward the heart of the hegemony formation. Almost immediately, alarm signals began broadcasting across alien communication channels as the fleet detected the intruder. Unknown vessel, you are in violation of hegemony space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed, came the transmission from the command dreadnought. Jake ignored the warning and pushed the ship to maximum combat speed. The hull reconfigured around them, armor plating sliding into position as weapon systems charged to full power. The hegemony fleet began to respond, but their reaction was exactly what Jake had expected. Ships moved to intercept according to predetermined patterns, creating defensive formations that had been used successfully for centuries. But Jake wasn't following any pattern they recognized. The Terran Defiance flew through their formation like a knife through cloth, using its superior speed and maneuverability to avoid their weapons fire while targeting specific systems on each ship it passed. The first escort cruiser lost its weapons array to a precisely aimed missile barrage. The second lost its engines to an energy beam that cut through its hull like paper. Jake wasn't trying to destroy the ships. He was trying to disable them, removing their ability to coordinate with the rest of the fleet. Impossible maneuvering detected, came a transmission from one of the hegemony commanders. This vessel is not following recognized tactical protocols. That's the point, Jake muttered as he brought the ship around for another pass. The microships had been working independently, each one using stealth technology to approach different targets. As Jake engaged the main fleet, the smaller vessels struck simultaneously at three separate escort ships, disabling their communication arrays before disappearing back into stealth mode. Fleet coordination is breaking down, Keth Tara reported. Individual ships are reverting to autonomous defensive protocols. This was exactly what Jake had hoped for. Hegemony military doctrine relied on coordinated fleet actions. When that coordination was disrupted, individual ships became much less effective. The command dreadnought finally began to turn toward the Terran Defiance, its massive weapons coming to bear on the attacking ship. Jake could feel the targeting scanners locking onto them, preparing to fire weapons that could destroy a small moon. Evasive maneuvers, Jake said, but the ship was already moving before he finished speaking. Their neural link had become so complete that thought and action happened simultaneously. The dreadnought's main guns fired, sending beams of concentrated energy that would have vaporized any normal ship. But the Terran Defiance wasn't normal. Its adaptive shielding absorbed most of the energy while its hull configuration changed to deflect what the shields couldn't handle. Shield efficiency at 93%, Keth Tara reported. Damage minimal, Jake smiled grimly. Time to show them what we've learned. The ship's hull began to change again, but this time in ways that no observer could have predicted. Instead of maintaining a solid shape, sections of the hull became temporarily intangible, allowing the dreadnought's weapons fire to pass harmlessly through empty space. Phase-shifting technology, Jake explained to the recording devices that would transmit this information back to Earth. Human quantum mechanics combined with alien biomechanical systems. We can become solid or intangible as needed. The Terran Defiance passed through the dreadnought's defensive fire like a ghost, then solidified just as it reached the massive ship's hull. Cutting tools extended from the attacking vessel and began slicing through armor that was supposed to be impenetrable. We surrender, came the transmission from the dreadnought's commander. This attack violates all recognized laws of warfare. No, Jake replied calmly. This attack violates your understanding of what warfare can be. He pulled the ship back from the dreadnought, leaving it disabled but intact. Around them, the rest of the hegemony fleet was in complete disarray. Ships that had been arranged in perfect formation were now scattered and confused, their coordination completely destroyed. "Attention all hegemony vessels," Jake broadcast. "On all frequencies. This is Commander Rodriguez of the Earth vessel Terran Defiance. You came to our solar system to assess whether humans pose a threat to your empire. Consider your assessment complete." Jake paused, feeling Keth Terra's consciousness merge with his own as they prepared to deliver their message. "Tell your superiors that Earth is under the protection of something your empire has never faced before. We are not just human and we are not just alien. We are both and we are neither. We are adaptation itself." The microships returned to dock with the main vessel as Jake prepared for the journey home. Behind them, the hegemony fleet remained in position, damaged but not destroyed. Every ship would return to hegemony space with the same message. Humanity could not be conquered by conventional means. "Mission accomplished," Jake reported to Admiral Chun as they entered hyperspace. "The hegemony fleet is neutralized, and their commanders have a very clear understanding of what they're dealing with." "Outstanding work, Commander. What are your recommendations for our next move?" Jake felt Keth Terra's ancient memory stirring, bringing knowledge of galactic politics and military strategy that spanned centuries. "We prepare for the real war," Jake said, "because the hegemony isn't our only problem. The Devourers are still coming, and when they arrive, everyone in the galaxy is going to need our help." The Terran Defiance flew through hyperspace toward Earth, carrying with it the proof that sometimes the best way to avoid a war is to demonstrate that you're capable of winning it. But Jake knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was full of threats and opportunities, and humanity was about to discover just how much difference one transformed ship could make. In the depths of space, the message was already spreading. Earth had announced itself to the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same. Fleet Admiral Cothran stood before the emergency session of the Hegemony Council, his scarred face grim as he delivered his report. The massive chamber was filled with representatives from across the galactic empire, each one struggling to understand what they were hearing. "The human vessel is unlike anything in our records," Cothran said, his voice echoing in the vast space. "It combines technologies that should be incompatible. Our best scientists cannot explain how it functions." Council Speaker Vorthak leaned forward from his elevated platform. He was ancient even by hegemony standards, having served the Empire for over 3 centuries. "You are telling us that a single ship defeated an entire battle fleet?" "Not defeated," Cothran corrected. "Neutralized. The humans could have destroyed every vessel in the formation, but they chose not to. This suggests strategic thinking that goes beyond simple aggression." Another council member, War Chief Zolthan, slammed his fist on his desk. "Impossible. No single vessel possesses such capabilities. Your commanders must have shown cowardice in the face of an unknown threat." Cothran's eyes flashed with anger. "I was there, War Chief. I saw the tactical recordings. This ship phases through solid matter, adapts its hull configuration in real time, and employs weapons that combine multiple technological approaches. It is not merely advanced, it is evolutionary." The council chamber erupted in confused murmurs and angry debate. For over 1,000 years, the hegemony had been the dominant military force in their region of the galaxy. Their ships and tactics had conquered dozens of civilizations. The idea that a primitive human vessel could outmatch their finest technology was almost incomprehensible. "What do we know about human military capabilities?" Speaker Vorthak asked. "Until recently, very little," Cothran replied. "They are a young species with crude technology, but they approach warfare differently than any civilization we have encountered. They adapt, improvise, and employ tactics that violate established military doctrine." "Then we destroy them," War Chief Sulfan declared. "We assemble the Grand Fleet and reduce their homeworld to ash. With respect, War Chief, that may not be possible." The chamber fell silent. Fleet Admiral Cothran had never been known for caution or uncertainty. If he was expressing doubt about the hegemony's military capabilities, the situation was far worse than anyone had imagined. "Explain," Speaker Vorthak commanded. Cawthron activated a holographic display that showed the Terran Defiance in action. The assembled council watched in stunned silence. As the human ship moved through their battle formation like water through a net, disabling vessel after vessel with surgical precision. "The humans have taken one of our abandoned reconnaissance vessels and transformed it into something that exceeds both our technology and theirs. Our analysts believe they have created a new form of warfare that combines biological adaptability with technological superiority." "One ship," War Chief Zolthan said dismissively. "We have thousands." "One ship that can become any ship it needs to be," Cawthron replied. "Our intelligence indicates that the humans are building more vessels, using hybrid technology. Each one will be unique, adapted for specific purposes and crews." On the far side of the galaxy, Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the upgraded Earth Defense Command Center, watching real-time intelligence feeds from across human space. In the 6 months since the Proxima Centauri engagement, everything had changed. The Terran Defiance had become more than a ship. It had become a template. Using biological samples and technological scans from the original vessel, human engineers had begun growing new ships that combined alien biomechanical systems with human innovation. "Status report on the new vessels?" Admiral Chun asked as he joined Elena at the main display. 7 ships completed and operational," Elena replied. "Each one is different, adapted for its specific crew and mission parameters. The USS Fusion specializes in stealth and reconnaissance. The USS Synthesis is optimized for long-range combat. The USS Evolution is designed for exploration and first contact." Admiral Chun nodded, studying the tactical display that showed human ships positioned across the solar system and beyond. "And the crews? All volunteers who have undergone neural interface training. The bond between human consciousness and ship AI appears to be essential for optimal performance." What Elena didn't mention was how the process was changing the human volunteers. Each pilot who bonded with a hybrid ship came back different, more intuitive, more adaptable, with knowledge and perspectives that no purely human mind could possess. Commander Jake Rodriguez entered the command center, his neural interface headset glowing more brightly than ever. His connection with Kefterra had deepened to the point where it was sometimes difficult to tell where the human ended and the AI began. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from the edge of the solar system," Jake reported. "Long range. Sensors have detected multiple hyperspace signatures approaching from hegemony space." "How many ships?" Chun asked. 47 confirmed contacts. "Full battle fleet configuration including command ships and support vessels." Elena felt her heart race. Despite all their preparations, 47 ships was still a massive force. Even with their hybrid technology, Earth's fleet numbered only 8 vessels. "Time to intercept?" Admiral Chun asked. 6 hours at current approach speed, Jake replied. "But Admiral, there's something else. Kefterra is detecting additional signatures beyond the hegemony fleet, much larger signatures." Jake closed his eyes, accessing deeper levels of the ship's sensor network. When he opened them again, his expression was troubled. "Devourer scouts," he said quietly. "At least 3 of them, shadowing the hegemony fleet from a distance." The command center fell silent. Everyone present understood what this meant. The extragalactic threat that had been consuming civilizations across the galaxy had finally reached human space. "How long do we have?" Elena asked. "Unknown. The Devourers appear to be observing rather than attacking. They may be waiting to see how the conflict between humans and the hegemony plays out." Admiral Chun made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "Jake, open a channel to the hegemony fleet. It's time for a conversation." 30 minutes later, the command center was filled with holographic projections representing both human and hegemony leadership. Fleet Admiral Cawthron appeared alongside several other alien commanders, while Admiral Chun stood surrounded by his staff and the captains of Earth's hybrid vessels. "Fleet Admiral Cawthron," Chun began, We need to discuss the situation we all face. The alien commander's expression was unreadable. You wish to negotiate surrender terms? No, I wish to propose an alliance. The statement sent shockwaves through both groups. Hegemony officers exchanged glances of disbelief, while human staff members struggled to understand their admiral's strategy. An alliance? Cawthron repeated. Your species has demonstrated hostility toward hegemony interests. Our species has demonstrated that we can defend ourselves, Chun corrected. But right now, defense isn't the issue. Survival is. Jake stepped forward, his neural link allowing him to project tactical displays that both human and hegemony officers could understand. 3 Devourer scouts are currently positioned at the edge of our solar system, Jake announced. They're observing this confrontation, probably deciding whether to attack the winner or wait for both sides to weaken each other. The holographic display showed the massive signatures that Keth Terra had detected. Even through the poor quality transmission, the size and power of the Devourer vessels was intimidating. Fleet Admiral Cawthron studied the display with growing concern. How do you know these are Devourer vessels? Because my ship's AI contains the memories of your war against them, Jake replied. Keth Terra was there when the Devourers first appeared in hegemony space. It knows what they're capable of. Impossible. That vessel was classified as destroyed. That vessel was abandoned, Jake said, his voice carrying an edge of anger. Left to die because it didn't meet hegemony standards of perfection. But humans don't abandon things just because they're broken. We fix them. Elena watched the exchange with fascination. Jake was no longer speaking as a purely human representative. His words carried the weight of Keth Terra's experiences and the perspective of someone who had seen the galaxy from both human and alien viewpoints. What are you proposing? Cawthron asked carefully. Admiral Chun activated another display showing Earth's hybrid fleet. We propose combining hegemony resources with human adaptability. Your empire has the manufacturing capacity and established infrastructure. We have the technological innovations that can make your ships more effective against the Devourers. You want us to contaminate our pure technology with your modifications? We want you to survive, Jake said bluntly. The Devourers have destroyed 4,000 inhabited worlds in the past century. Your rigid tactics and standardized technology haven't stopped them, but adaptation can. Fleet Admiral Cawthron was quiet for a long moment, considering options. That violated everything the hegemony had believed about technological purity and military doctrine. What evidence do you have that your hybrid approach is more effective? He asked finally. Jake smiled. Let us show you. The demonstration took place in the space between the 2 fleets. The Terran Defiance faced off against a hegemony heavy cruiser in a mock combat scenario, with both fleets observing the engagement. What the hegemony officers saw challenged every assumption they had about warfare. The human ship flowed through different configurations like liquid metal, adapting its shape and capabilities to counter every tactic the cruiser employed. When the alien vessel tried to overwhelm it with firepower, the Defiance became a stealth ship and disappeared. When the cruiser attempted to ram it, the human vessel phased through solid matter like a ghost. Enough, Fleet Admiral Cawthron finally said. I have seen sufficient evidence. The mock battle ended with the hegemony cruiser completely disabled, while the Terran Defiance remained undamaged. But more importantly, the demonstration had shown both sides what was possible when different approaches to technology were combined. The Hegemony Council will need to approve any formal alliance, Cawthron said. But given the circumstances, I am authorized to begin immediate cooperation against the Devourer threat. Admiral Chun nodded. Agreed, but there's one condition. Any hegemony vessels that receive human modifications will operate with hybrid crews. Human adaptability isn't just about technology, it's about thinking differently. Acceptable, Cawthron replied after a brief consultation with his officers. Elena watched as history was made in the space around Earth. 2 civilizations that had been preparing for war were instead forming an alliance based on mutual respect and shared necessity. The first joint operation began immediately. Hegemony engineers worked alongside human technicians to install adaptive systems on alien vessels. Human pilots trained with hegemony crews to share tactical knowledge and strategic thinking. Within weeks, the first hybrid hegemony vessels were ready for combat. They retained the impressive firepower and defensive capabilities of pure hegemony technology, but gained the adaptability and unpredictability that made human tactics so effective. When the Devourers finally attacked, they faced something they had never encountered before. The joint human hegemony fleet didn't fight like either species had fought before. They fought like something entirely new, ships that could reconfigure themselves in real time, tactics that combined rigid discipline with creative improvisation, crews that thought with both human intuition and alien knowledge. The first Devourer assault wave was repelled with minimal losses. The second wave was defeated before it could establish a foothold in the system. By the time the third wave arrived, it found a fleet of hybrid vessels that had learned from each previous engagement and adapted their capabilities accordingly. Commander Jake Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Terran Defiance as the last Devourer vessel fled toward the Galactic Rim. Around him, the combined fleet was already planning their next move, a counterattack that would carry the war to the enemy's territory. "How do you feel?" Keth Terra asked through their neural link. Jake considered the question as he watched human and hegemony ships working together in perfect coordination. Each vessel was unique now, adapted for its specific crew and mission. The rigid standardization that had once defined both technologies was giving way to endless variation and improvement. "Like we're just getting started," Jake replied. "The galaxy is full of civilizations that need what we've learned. And there are probably threats out there that we haven't even imagined yet." The Terran Defiance began its journey toward the Galactic Rim, leading a fleet of hybrid vessels that represented the best of both civilizations. Behind them, Earth's shipyards were already growing the next generation of adaptive ships, each one unique, each one impossible to predict or counter. The abandoned alien vessel that had been considered worthless by its creators had become the foundation for a new kind of warfare. A warfare based not on rigid doctrine or technological superiority, but on the fundamental principle that adaptation and innovation could overcome any obstacle. In the depths of space, other civilizations watched the reports of humanity's alliance with the hegemony. Species that had fled from the Devourers were beginning to hope again. Empires that had considered humanity beneath notice were reassessing their assumptions. The galaxy was changing, and at the center of that change was a simple truth that humans had always known, but the rest of the galaxy was just beginning to understand. Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't the strongest or the most advanced. Sometimes it's the one that can become whatever it needs to be. And nothing could stop that.